special day to the Mansion House, where 106 years ago to the day we declared our independence. Le till agus míl an phobal by the will and wish of the people. Tar éis tóchán ila Éireann in nulig ní déag update, tháinig an cé Dáil the chéile seo chun poblach na hÉireann na dheanganú a bhí fógratha I gás ní déag sé déag. So the first Dáil Éireann came here in 1919, the 21st of January, to ratify the Irish Republic as proclaimed in 1916. To give you a brief rundown on our proceedings for today, we begin, mostly we're here to read some of the most seminal documents that were promulgated on the day. After that, we will be then making our way to a couple of other sites. We'll be making our way to Lombard Street, which is the site of the establishment of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. We'll be making our way then to O'Connell Street, the statue of William Smith O'Brien, GPO, and then finally up to Vaughan's Hotel. It will be culminating then the Teachers Club with the turning of the Sovereign Seal. Recently the IRB Supreme Council sanctioned the chairman, John Flanagan, as envoy for the President to turn the Sovereign Seal. So I'll give you a quick rundown again on proceedings on that day. A lot of people know it already, but it's always nice to recap. Churatús le himachtaí ag leathuair tar éis an trí ar an lá. Proceedings began at 3:30. Agus rinneadh trí Gaeilge go hiomlán, entirely through the Irish language. Dúirt an tathair Mícheál Flanagan Pádraig chun tús a chóir le himachtaí, agus toa cathal brua go chuí mar ceann cóirle. It was the Vice President of Sinn Féin, Father Michael Flanagan, who began proceedings with a prayer, and then Cathal Brugha was duly elected as Ceann Cóirle. He only held that position actually for a day, because the following day he was elected as provisional president in the absence of Eamon de Valera, who was locked up in Lincoln Jail in England. Leo an Rulla an sin, the roll was called. Agus ní rao ach seachtar is fihead as na trúr is seachtal. And hin chapter Dáil hin féin in láthar an lá. There was only 27 of the 73 Sinn Féin TDs that were elected president on the day. The rest were either marked as fake glas Éireann, locked up by the foreigner, or are Debert Éireann, deported by the foreigner, and while others were also on the run. Nor a glíú amach anamnacha Mícheál Cuileán agus Anrio Beolán, Dragar Dina Éigean a son, I láthair. So somebody on the day answered for the name Michael Collins and Harry Boland, I láthair, present. The fact, well, not the fact, allegedly, we don't know yet, where they weren't present on the day. I say allegedly because I was reading just the other day about a famous Cumann woman, Myra Comerford. She has some beautiful quotes about the day in question. But she alleges that they were actually there on the day but left early. I suppose we'll never know, but that's quite consistent with Collins' behaviour and movements. Nobody ever knew where he was at any given time or when he was there. Leo amach Rinch Capéisi Anna Hábhachtach ar an lá. Mar hampla Ferógra na Saoirse. Some seminal documents are read out on the day. The Declaration of Independence. Scéal ó Gáil Éireann cum saor náisiún an domhan. The message to the free nations of the world, agus chlár Ibra Publicani, the democratic program, which I'll speak about later. So, to begin proceedings, the first document we're going to read out is Ferógra na Saoirse. Ferógra na Saoirse, the Declaration of Independence. Yangani, Ferógra na Saoirse, Ferógra, Public na hÉireann, ní déag sé déag. The Declaration of Independence essentially ratified the proclamation of 1916. Martil agus mín an phobal, again with the will and wish of the people. So I'm going to ask now, is it Veronica to come up? Is it read the Declaration of Independence?
Ireland's Declaration of Independence issued by the Dáil Éireann at the Mansion House in Dublin, January 21st, 1919. Whereas the Irish people is by right a free people, and whereas for 700 years the Irish people has never ceased to repudiate and has repeatedly protested in arms against foreign usurpation, and whereas English rule in this country is, and always has been, based upon force and fraud and maintained by military occupation against the declared will of the people, and whereas the Irish Republic was proclaimed in Dublin on Easter Monday 1916 by the Irish Republican Army acting on behalf of the Irish people, and whereas the Irish people is resolved to secure and maintain its complete independence in order to promote the common weal, to re-establish justice, to provide for future defence, to ensure peace at home and goodwill with all nations, and to constitute a national policy based upon the people's will, with equal right and equal opportunity for every citizen. And whereas at the threshold of a new era in history, the Irish electorate has, in the general election of December 1918, seized the first occasion to declare by an overwhelming majority its firm allegiance to the Irish Republic. Now, therefore, we, the elected representatives of the ancient Irish people, in National Parliament assembled, do, in the name of the Irish nation, ratify the establishment of the Irish Republic and pledge ourselves and our people to make this declaration effective by every means at our command. Do ordain the elected representatives of the Irish people alone have power to make laws binding on the people of Ireland, and that the Irish Parliament is the only Parliament to which that people will give its allegiance. We solemnly declare foreign government in Ireland to be an invasion of our national right, which we will never tolerate, and we demand the evacuation of our country by the English garrison. We claim for our national independence the recognition and support of every free nation of the world, and we proclaim that independence to be a condition precedent to international peace hereafter. In the name of the Irish people, we humbly commit our destiny to Almighty God, who gave our fathers the courage and determination to persevere through centuries of a ruthless tyranny, and strong in the justice of the cause which they have handed down to us. We ask His divine blessing on this, the last stage of the struggle which we have pledged ourselves to carry through to freedom.
Declaration of Independence. Before we just move on, I came across another nice little tidbit there regarding the nice light-hearted moment that occurred on the day also during the roll call. Some prominent Ulster Unionist names were called out, Carson and Craig, who are very surprisingly not present on the day. But if they had have come, ironically, they would have heard the strains of God Save the King, because the meeting of the first Dáil wasn't the only event that was going on in the Mansion House that day. Prior to the first meeting of the Dáil, there was a function for recently returned prisoners of war from the Royal Dublin Fusiliers, recently returned from France, and it was the Manchester Guardian who reported, I believe, that as they walked out to the tune of God Save the King, the Republicans walked straight in. Now, I know how brilliant and how cunning and how ruthless in terms of planning Michael Collins was, but I don't think anyone could have foreseen that at all. We're going to move on now, folks. Scéal ó Gáil Éireann cum saor náisiún an down. The message to the free nations of the world. Dorvas an Dáil Ceannasach. Scéal ó Gáil Éireann cum saor náisiún an down ag a géad sí. The first gathering of the Dáil ratified the message to the free nations of the world at their first sitting. Bhí sé dírithe na tíortha bhí láthair I Boris ag an town ag an Gódáil na Síochána. It was directed at the nations who were at the Paris Peace Conference at the time. Ag Éire Orthu, asking them, Éire a ahand mar náisiún Ceannasach Neamhspleách, to recognise them as an independent, a sovereign independent state, taken directly from the proclamation of 1916. So scríomh in Gaeilge, a Merle agus a Rankish. It was written in Irish, English and French. We're going to read it in English now, and it's Aidan Nesser.
Message to the free nations of the world. To the nations of the world, greetings. The nation of Ireland, having proclaimed her national independence cause, to her elected representatives in Parliament assembled in the Irish capital of January 21st, 1919. Upon every free nation to support the Irish Republic by recognising the Irish national status and a right to its vindication at the Peace Congress. Nationally, the race, the language, the customs and traditions of Ireland are radically distinct from the English. Ireland is one of the most ancient nations in Europe, and she has preserved her national integrity vigorous and intact for several centuries of foreign oppression. She has never relinquished her national rights, and throughout the long era of English usurpation, she has in every generation definitely proclaimed her inevitable right of nationhood, down to her last glory resort to the arms in 1916. Internationally, Ireland is the gateway of the Atlantic. Ireland is the last outpost of Europe towards the west. Ireland is the point upon which great trade routes between east and west converge. Her independence is demanded by the freedom of the seas. Her great harbours must be open to all nations instead of being the monopoly of England. Today, these harbours are empty and idle solely because English policy is determined to retain Ireland as a barren bulwark for English aggrandizement, and the unique geographical position of this island, far from being a benefit and safeguard to Europe and America, is subject to purposes of England's policy of world domination. Ireland today reasserts her historic nationhood the more confidently before the new world emerging from the World War, because she believes in freedom and justice as the fundamental principles of international law, because she believes in a frank cooperation between the people for equal rights and rights against the vested privileges of ancient tyrannies, because the permanent peace of Europe can never be secured by perpetuating military dominion for the profit of empire, but only by establishing the control of government in every land upon the basis of the free will of a free people, an existing state of war between Ireland and England. England can never be ended until Ireland is definitely evacuated by the armed forces of England. For these, among other reasons, Ireland resolutely and irrevocably determined at the dawn of the promised era of self-determination and liberty that she will suffer foreign dominion no longer, calls upon every free nation to uphold her national claim to complete independence as the Irish Republic against the arrogant pretensions of England, founded in fraud and sustained only by overwhelming military occupation, and demanding to be confronted publicly with England at the Congress of the Nations, in order that the civilized world, having judged between English wrong and Irish right, may guarantee to Ireland its permanent support for the maintenance of her national independence.